Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and the Forge is an area for me to talk about magic, Commander, and anything else while I try and bring this whole mental health thing back into what we call a normal area. Now, today I do want to talk about, well, mostly just magic cards. I went up to play FNM not this last Friday, but the Friday before that. This Friday, I went into work and ended up stressing my back, my knee, and my shoulders. So I decided I needed to take a couple of days off. That's it. I played against a Child of Alara that was a Gates deck. And it made me want to put Gates back together. But in that same game, I played against a Arabo Roar of the World deck, and I really liked that one. I had toyed with the idea of putting together mono white cats with the new Arabo from Foundations, which is 2 and a white. For a 2/2 cat avatar, other cats get +1/+1, and whenever it or another non-token cat enters, you make a 1/1 cat creature token. But then I sat down and I thought about it, and I was like, well, there are a lot of cats in green, and there's that new Ajani that flips, but that flips into white-red. So if I wanted to get him into the deck, I would lose green, or I'd have to play something like Ren and Siri, and I didn't really want to do Naya, so I kind of sat down and I was like, well, what are the green-white legends we can kind of use with this deck that I'm thinking about building? So the first one that came to mind was the original Arabo Roar of the World. It's 3, a green and a white for a 5/5 cat avatar. It has the Eminence ability. This isn't the most broken of the Eminence abilities, but I'm also not the biggest fan of the Eminence abilities. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if Arabo is either in the command zone or on the battlefield, another target cat gets +3/+3 till end of turn. And then it has the ability, whenever another cat you control attacks, you can pay 1, a green and a white. If you do, it gains trample, gains +X/+X till end of turn, where X is its power. So, strong contender for making that the commander, but I had other options. The next option was Miri Weatherlight Duelist. 1, a green and a white for a 3/2 cat warrior with first strike. Whenever Miri attacks, each opponent can't block with more than one creature this combat, and as long as Miri is tapped, no more than one creature can attack you each combat. The thing with Miri is I feel like she wants to build a deck in a different way more than just trying to shove cats into it, so I didn't really want to go with her either. My next option was Sovereign Okenek Ahau. 2, a green and a white for a 3/4 cat noble. It has Ward 2. And whenever the Sovereign attacks, for each creature you control with power greater than the creature's base power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. This still does not end up being my commander, but there is enough ways to incidentally put counters on things in the deck that this could work as the commander. But no, what I ended up settling on was Kutzil Melamet Exemplar. 1, a green and a white for a 3/3 cat warrior. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, and whenever one or more creatures you control, each with power greater than its base power, deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So we can hit 3 different players with creatures that have powers that are higher than their base and draw 3 cards. So that's the basis for what I was going for with this deck. I do, on the other hand, also get to run the companion Kahira the Orphan Guard. It's 1 and then 2 hybrid Selesnya. It has the companion thing, so it's outside the game. You can pay 3 as a sorcery to put it into your hand, and then you can cast it. It has vigilance, and then each other creature control that's either a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast gets +1/+1 and has vigilance. Also, each creature card in your starting deck can only be a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast card. That said, in the deck I've been putting together, it's all cats. And 1 shapeshifter. But yeah, that was my thought process there. I still don't have this deck together. I'm kind of working on that now. But I do have the basis for the 5-color lands deck that I'm putting together for my Maze's End deck. So when I get back, I'm going to talk about that. And I will be back in a minute. And we're back. Now, let's talk about gates. The gates in Magic, that is. So, I did sit down and think about this, because technically, I think with a 3-color deck, you can get enough gates to make Maze's End work, but we're extra here, so we're still going 5-color. So, originally when I was thinking 3 colors, there's the 9-finger Keen, but I decided to actually go with a 5-color one. I went with Jared Carthelion. It is 5 mana, Wooburg, for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker, Jared. The +1 is make a 3/3 Kavu creature token with trample, that's all colors. For -3, choose up to 2 creatures. For each of them, put a number of 1/1 counters on them equal to the number of colors it has. And -6, return target multicolored card from your graveyard to your hand. If that creature was all colors, draw a card, make 2 treasure tokens, and Jared Carthelion can be your commander. And so the deck idea was born. So the main card in the deck is Maze's End. It's a land, and it's tapped. You can tap it to make a colorless, or you can pay 3, tap it, return Maze's End to its owner's hand, search your library for a gate card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. If you control 10 or more gates with different names, you win the game. There's a lot of gates in Magic now, and the 10 that this originally was around, I will go through very quickly. They are the 10 guilds. You have Simic, Selesnya, Gruul, Azorius, Rakdos, Izzet, Golgari, Orzhov, Boros, and Dimir. Now, also from the Ravnica sets, we also have Gateway Plaza. So, yeah, there's 11 gates right there. But then Baldur's Gate happened, and we got a lot more gates. There are the ones that enter, you can choose a second color, but then they produce, a primary color. Those are Manor Gate for green, Cliff Gate for red, Citadel Gate for white, Black Dragon Gate for black, and Sea Gate for blue. We also have the name of the set and game, Baldur's Gate, which is a legendary gate. It taps for colors, or you can pay 2, tap, and add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of other gates you control. This is going to be a powerhouse in the deck. Next up, we have Zahip Gate, which taps for colorless. You can pay 1 and filter it into any color. And you can pay 1, tap it, and tap an untapped gate you control to create a treasure token. Then we have Gond Gate. Gond Gate enters the battlefield taps for colorless. or you can tap it for 1 mana of any color that a gate you control could produce. So this is just to help with mana fixing and stuff. And then there's Basilisk Gate. Just taps for a colorless. You can pay 2, tap it. Target creature gets +X/+X till end of turn, where X is the number of gates you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Now, in addition, there are 3 other gates that aren't connected to any of those sets, but I can only get my hands on 2 of them. The first one being Thran Portal. It's a gate. Enters battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. When it enters, you choose a basic land type. Thran Portal is the chosen type in addition to its other types, and mana abilities of Thran Portal cost an additional 1 life to activate. So, it's great at mana fixing, but it's a pain land, and it will always be a pain land. Because no matter if you give it the ability to tap for any color, anytime you tap it, you take 1 damage. Unless you have a way of tapping it without adding mana, you know what I mean. Now, the last one I want to talk about here is the Black Gate. And this is from Lord of the Rings set. It's a gate. When there's a battlefield, you can pay 3 life. If you don't and enters tapped, it taps for a black, and you can pay 1 and a black and tap it. Choose a player with the most life, or tied for the most life. Target creature can't be blocked by creatures that player controls this turn. It's a gate, so it made its way in here. Now, once I get into the deck, it does start to look like a typical lands deck. And what I mean by that is it's got the things that let you play multiple lands per turn, play lands from graveyards, that kind of stuff. You know, your Crucible Worlds, which is a 3-mana artifact that just lets you play lands from the graveyard. Exploration is a single green for an enchantment that lets you play an additional land on each of your turns. Azusa, Lost But Seeking, is 2 and a green for a legendary human monk. She's a 1/2 that lets you play 2 additional lands per turn. Conduit of Worlds is 2 green for an artifact. You can play lands from your graveyard, but you can also tap it to choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. Activate only as a sorcery, so this is a way to get something else out of the graveyard. Perennial Behemoth is a 5-mana 2/7 beast. You can play lands from your graveyard. It has Unearth for green. Mina and Den Wildborn. 2 a red and a green for a 4/4 elf ally. You can play an additional land on each of your turns for a red and green. Return target land to its owner's hand. Target creature gains trample till end of turn. Wayward Swordtooth. 2 and a green for a 5/5 dinosaur. With Ascend, you can play an additional land on each of your turns. It can't attack or block until you have the city's blessing. Ancient Green Warden, 4 green for a 5/7 elemental with reach. You may play lands from your graveyard. If a land entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Let's see what else. Ramunap Excavator, 2 and a green for a 2/3 Naga Cleric. You may play land cards from your graveyard. Then there's like the one-shot get something back with Aranis Gloomstalker, 2 and a green for a 3/3 Halfling Ranger with Death Touch. Whenever she attacks, return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. She has choose a background, not relevant here. And then the thing that you're definitely going to see in like all Lions decks is Scapeshift. 2 green for a sorcery. Sacrifice any number of lands. Search your library for up to that many land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So, as long as we have a way to make our lands enter untapped, Scapeshift can just win the game out of nowhere, basically. But there's a lot of things that aren't the same with other landfall decks. And that's because we don't actually run any of the typical ramp spells, like Cultivate or Kodama's Reach. Because there's only like 6 or 7 basics in this deck. It's not a lot. So we specifically needed things that could just hit lands. So things like Adventurous Impulse. Single green for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature or land from among them. Put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom. So this can get a land into your hand that you can then play. Crop Rotation is probably the best way we have to get our Maze's End. Single green, instant, additional cast. Sacrifice a land, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So this can just get, any of our gates, basically. Realm Seekers was one that it took me a while to remember. It's 4 green for a 0/0. It enters with a number of +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the total number of cards in all players' hands. But you can pay 2 and a green to remove a counter from Realm Seekers. Search your library for a land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So again, a good way to get our Maze's End into our hand. We have Shigeki Jukai Visionary, 1 and a green for a 1/3 Snake Druid. You can pay 1 and a green, tap it to return Shigeki to its owner's hand to reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You can put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped, the rest into your graveyard. So this is a good way to funnel through our deck, get lands into our graveyard, get land into play, and then it has Channel for XX green. Discard Shigeki, return X target non-legendary card from your graveyard to your hand. So, again, that is a way to get Maze's End back out of our graveyard. Now, again, we had to get creative with how we were getting our lands. But there are still some staples from other lands decks we get to run. Things like Splendid Reclamation, because that can just get all lands out of our graveyard. A new one I found is Titania's Command for green for a sorcery. Choose 2. Exile target player's graveyard to get 1 left for each card exiled this way. Search your library for 2 land cards, put them onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Create 2/2/2 green bear creature tokens, or put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Chances are we're going to get the 2 lands and make 2 bears just to put up blockers. But it's pretty good. Following the same principle as some of the other things here, we have Life from the Loam, 1 and a green sorcery. Return 3 land cards from your graveyard to your hand. It has Dredge 3. Then we get into some of the newer stuff. Things like Nylea's Intervention. X green sorcery. Choose 1. Search your library for X land cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. Or the intervention deals twice X damage to each creature with flying. So this can be board control, or this can just be, hey, go get Maze's End and 3 gates. But now we get into the other stuff. So first up, we have Jadzi, Oracle of Arcavios. 6 blue for a 5/5 human wizard. You can discard a card to return Jadzi to its owner's hand, and it has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you can cast it by paying 1 rather than paying the mana cost. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. But the real important thing here is the back of it, which is Journey to the Oracle. 2 green for a sorcery. You may put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Then, if you control 8 or more lands, you may discard a card. If you do, return Journey to the Oracle to its owner's hand. So, yeah, it just dumps lands. But now we get into the other stuff. Starting with Zimone, Quandrix Prodigy. It's a blue and a green for a 1/2 human wizard. You can pay 1, tap it, and put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. You can also pay 4 and tap it to draw a card. But if you control 8 or more lands, you draw 2 cards instead. Bonnie Pell, Clear Cutter, is 3, a green, and 2 blue for a 6/5 giant scout with reach. Whenever she enters the battlefield, create Bow, a legendary blue ox creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. And whenever you attack, you draw a card, and then you can put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Or land card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. Next up, we have Gritchin Twitchwillow, a green and a blue, for a 0/4 Halfling Druid. You can pay 2 a green and a blue to draw a card, then you can put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. We have the Necrobloom. 1 and white, black, green for a 2/7 plant. It has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 0/1 green plant creature token. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token instead. I would be running the Field of the Dead in this deck if I owned one, and I just don't feel like dropping $30 on a land right now. The important bit here is land cards in your graveyard have Dredge 2, so again, this is just another way to get Maze's End out of our graveyard if it ends up there. Next we have Sylvan Scrying, just 1 and a green sorcery, search your library for a land card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Then we have 2 that are functionally the same. Growth Spiral is a green and a blue for an instant, draw a card. You can put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. And then Eureka Moment is 2 green and a blue for an instant, draw 2 cards, and then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. And then finally we have the other person that I originally was thinking about doing this as a 3-color deck with, that is Nine Fingers Keen. It is 1, a black, a green, and a blue for a 4/4 human rogue with Menache. It has Ward, pay 9 life, and whenever she deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 9 cards of your library. You can put a gate card from among them onto the battlefield. Then if you control 9 or more gates, put the rest into your hand. Otherwise, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, she is arguably the best card in the deck, just because she can do that. But we do want to make sure we can cast all of our spells. And the 2 things that allow us to do that, there's actually a couple more, but the 2 that I have right here in front of me that allow us to do that are Chromatic Lantern, 3-mana artifact, lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color, and it taps for any color. And Dryad of the Elysian Grove, 2 and a green for a 2/4 Nymph Dryad. You can play an additional land on each of your turns, but lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. And finally, we're going to take one step back to look at our lands to bring up the World Tree. It's a land, and enters the battlefield tapped. It taps for a green, but as long as you control 6 or more lands, lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. We don't care about its last ability, which is pay 2 of every color, and tap and sacrifice. To search your library for any number of god cards, put them onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. This deck has 0 gods in it. It's just there for the land abilities. But yeah, so I'm almost done with this deck. I think I'm missing like 10 cards that haven't come in yet. And then hopefully I'll have it together. Maybe, I don't know if the shop's going to be open this Friday for Commander. So maybe the week after. But anywho, I hope you have a good remainder of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulpey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.